Welcome to a session on media economics and society. Today, in this lecture, we explain to you what is media economics, how is a media product different from other products, thirdly, how media economics affects society at large. But before we start in that, let's have some definitions. Media economics is a specific application of economic laws and theories of media industries and firms, showing how economic, regulatory, and financial pressures direct and constrain activities and their influences on the dynamics of media markets. It provides means to examine the inner workings of the firms, but goes on also to provide methods of how choices and uses of resources affect broader concepts such as consumer welfare and social welfare. In simple terms, it is economic theories and regulations and laws which are applied to the media industry. But the practice of application of economics to media has to be understood in the context of the economic theories, the beginning of the economic theories. The classical economic theory was developed by Adam Smith when he identified land, labor, and capital as the three most important factors of production and a key contributor to a nation's wealth. The initial economists focused on the interplay of economic forces, the operation of markets, and the cost of production. They termed it as political economy. During the latter half of the 19th century, however, the economic research moved from a classical approach to that of neoclassical economics. Neoclassical economics differed by its use of both analytical tools and mathematics to examine the market behavior and price determination. Yet another important contribution of neoclassical economics was its refinement of demand theory, since much of classical economics tended to focus on concepts of production and supply. Therefore, the theorists of political economy focused on the concepts of production and supply. The neoclassical theorists focused on the concept of demand theory. The theoretical dimensions of media economics, therefore, have been borrowed from the basic theories of economics. Media economics research utilizes a variety of these approaches. The field can be classified into three areas, that is microeconomics, macroeconomic theories, and the theory of political economy. The microeconomic theory focuses much more on the issues which are suited for a specific industry and market conditions. Macroeconomic theories focus on broader areas like capital markets, gross domestic products, policy, and regulatory concerns. Political economy of the media is itself broad and diverse, emerging as response to positive approaches in mainstream economic theory. The mass media became a natural area of inquiry for political economic research, drawing from various areas. For this lecture, however, we are focusing on only microeconomics and macroeconomics. So, before we get into the depth of it, a quick question, a quick quiz. what is media economics? Is it how economic, regulatory, and financial pressures direct and constrain activities in media markets? Does it indicate the price of media goods? Does it tell us how regulatory and financial policies boost media markets? Giving you 1 minute to think on that. Now, the answer obviously is it is the economic, regulatory, and financial pressures that direct and constrain activities in the media market. Microeconomic theories have originated from the industrial organization model, and the microeconomics focuses in its simplest form focuses on the market structure, market conduct, and a market performance model. Therefore, microeconomics is focused much more to study the nature of the market. The market offers a great utility for media economics scholars because they understand the various variables, the degree of number of buyers and sellers, the degree of product differentiation, the barriers of entry to the market, the cost and pricing structures, and the degree of vertical and horizontal integration is studied in microeconomics. Now, the first thing that in neoclassical economics, if we are going to look at microeconomics, what is the theory of the firm? In neoclassical economics, this is an approach to economics focusing on the determination of the goods, outputs, and income distribution in markets through supply and demand. The theory of the firm is a microeconomic concept that states that a firm exists and makes decisions to maximize profits. The theory of the firm influences decision-making in variety of areas, including resource allocation, production techniques, price adjustments, and volume of production. Modern takes on the theory of the firm sometimes distinguish between long-run motivations, such as sustainability, and short-run motivations, such as profit maximization. The theory of the firm, as we stated, is an expansion of the industrial organization model with the goal of gaining a more thorough explication of the most common types of market structure: monopoly, oligopoly, monopolistic competition, and perfect competition, which we are now going to discuss. So we did talk about that when we are looking at a microeconomics, we are talking about various variables. We talked about the firm approach, and now we are talking about the market structure. The market structure here is important because we need to understand how many players are in that market, what is the pricing in that market, how is it competitive, how many variables there in the market. Most media markets tend to be dominated by oligopoly and monopolistic competitive structures. Rarely do we find a perfect competition in the media industries. One exception being the websites, where we'll come to that. I will explain what is a perfect competition. And monopoly tends to be limited to areas like newspapers and cable television. Monopolistic competition is when there is a large number of vendors and purchasers in the market. However, product differentiation in terms of price and quality is there in that market. For instance, television programs on several stations. The product, the goal, and services are all the same. However, the concept's quality differs across the channel. The diversity of web series programs across networks have expanded as a result of globalization. Therefore, Amazon Prime, Netflix, and Z5 are few examples. These are networks and providers of the same type of product and service with price and quality differentiation. Monopoly is where there is a single seller exists, which is very difficult to find in a media market until and unless it is in the local areas where there is perhaps only one newspaper publisher or only one magazine publisher. The monopolist market has the highest barrier to entry because the market is difficult. There might be fierce opposition because of the monopolist. There might be a huge amount of investment that has to be made. However, in the world of media, there are a lot of small number of players. This type of market is called a oligopoly. Oligopolistic enterprises wield a considerable degree of influence, yet they also compete with one another and with smaller businesses. Oligopolistic partnerships are sometimes described by limited competition or competition that isn't a full-fledged. Oligopoly refers to the market structure when only small number firms operate together or takes control of the majority of the market share. And perhaps you all know these are Comcast, NBC, Disney, ABC. These companies have huge number of enterprises under them and they dominate the share of the market, but they are limited in number. The development of technology has brought quite a difference in the market structure. With the coming of the internet, the market has hugely changed and therefore new forms have come up. Now in the form of product, these media outlets produce content which once developed then remain the same, and only the efficiencies are increased with sustainable standard size strategies. Let's, for example, a TV series once designed then released in the market with uniqueness is implemented in every episode. So, if the TV series is standardized, it is also followed in different markets. However, the content changes from episode to episode. The defining of market structure is becoming further difficult as we come up with new products like podcast or like shorts, reels, etc. For example, the market for radio but cannot be considered simply as a market for broadcast radio, but it will also encompass community radio, it will encompass high definition satellite radio, it will encompass internet radio, podcast, everything. Therefore, in the media sector, it is very difficult to define the market structure. Another concept that we need to familiarize of ourselves, which applies to the media market also, is economies of scale in media. Economies of scale are referred to as cost advantages that a company gets by altering its level of production processes. The company gets its advantages through economies of scale due to the inverse relationship that exists between per unit and the quantity produced. The best example of economies of scale in media is the cost of production of a movie. The cost in the production of movie is fixed, and once produced, it does not go up. Therefore, in the media industry, economies of scale happens once the movie has been produced and it is looked at by subsequently by millions of people. Now, in the traditional industry, that was not the case. That is not the case. Once a good is produced, economies of scale is obtained if it becomes lesser to produce another of it. In the media market, that particular scale might not be applicable in certain cases, like movies, like books, like original series, because there is no similar second product like that. But of course, with the coming of the broader globalization, when we are looking at different companies putting in different resources to make subsequent products which can be applicable to different parts of the world, then there of course the media company is investing on subsequent resources to make similar products. The therefore, economies of scale is a difficult concept to apply in the media industry. Now, we will go into the macroeconomic theories that are applicable to the media industry. There is much more limited body of literature revolving macroeconomic theories because it is more of specific at a national level. Policy studies generally, when we are looking at the macroeconomic aspect of media, we are looking at the policy studies, the regulatory actions, and the decision making on those that are applicable to a particular geography. Labor and employment trends in particular media businesses, or another area of study that is often approached from the macroeconomic perspective, is the how the people are performing, people are being evaluated, or their output is in the different areas of the media industry. So let's just do a short quiz, and answer the question: what is market structure? What does it show? Does it show the size of the market? Does it show the levels of the goods produced? Or does it refer to how different industries are classified and differentiated based on their degree and nature of competition for goods and services? Of course, the answer is it refers to how different industries are classified and differentiated based on their degree and nature of competition for goods and services. Now, let's go back to understanding how is media economics different. The basic difference is that media is a dual product. What do we mean by a dual product? The media content is at one go content for the audience. It is also at the same time the advertiser who looks at the content to give advertising. Therefore, any media content has a dual market. The advertiser will only give money if the content is suitable or the content is engaging, the right word is engaging, to the audience. Hence, any media industry caters to two markets: the market of the audience and the market of the advertiser. Naturally, firms value audiences to a great length. The audience has to be kept and engagement has to be managed, whether it be the traditional media or whether it be the newest Instagram reel or even a post on LinkedIn. Even non-profit organizations focus on the audience, and therefore, when we look at other products, we see that this consistent engagement is not always there for all products. For example, if you have a bread, you consume a bread and then you forget about the bread. But if there is a movie, you will be consistently discussing it, and therefore the involvement is far more. From here, the conflict also comes that media products are a cultural output, are considered as a cultural output and are considered as a public service output rather than a output of a output which has economic consequences. The output of the media appears to defy the very premise on which economic principles are based, scarcity. It does not matter how many times a film, a song, or a news report is seen or listened to. The goal of economics is to enhance efficiency in resource allocation. The concept of economic efficiency is intrinsically linked to goals, which, in the case of a public service, advertising, does not happen because the goal of efficiency cannot be measured. Many media companies like the idea of the traditional idea of that it is a cultural product. On the other hand, there are others who are primarily focused on making profits and satisfying shareholders. So, the motivation for having a media company can differ from one company to another company. Now, what are the economic principles of media markets? Media still differ according to whether they have a fixed or a variable cost structures. Media markets have an increasingly multi-income character because they not only earn from their websites, their newspapers, their televisions. If you talk about Sony, Disney, they are in multiple platforms. Media based on advertising revenue are more vulnerable to unwanted external pressures because the advertiser wants to maintain his stronghold. Different sources of revenue, therefore, require different measures of performance. A media can earn from an event, a media can earn from the subscriptions, a media can earn from the advertising revenue. Now, when the media earns from these different sources when the media has different sources of income, obviously they have to be measured from different parameters. Where there are multiple markets, performance in one market can affect the performance in other markets. Competition for the same revenue sources lead to uniformity. That means if I have a product which is a television channel, I have a newspaper which is also of the same name, and I have websites, we are looking at a revenue source from the same subscriptions on the same advertisements. And the chances are that the moment I suffer a revenue loss in a newspaper, it is also going to reflect on the other channels that I have, simply because it's a one source of revenue that we are looking at. Market structure, performance is increasingly linked with consumer engagement, as we explained before, that consumer or audience engagement is at the heart of media economics. Now, so therefore, once we have explained to you what is media economics, we are going to look at the final point objective of this lecture. How does it affect society? Does media economics? Yes, there is an indirect effect, since the media is dependent on revenue, the media is dependent on the market structure. The content of media gets affected too. Too many regulations, too many pressures on advertising is going to curb the nature of the is going to curb the volume of the content, the nature of the content. For example, if there is too much ads In the news is going to get longer, and therefore there are going to be less time for entertainment. And when you have less time for entertainment, where do your documentaries and feature other informative programs go? They don't garner eyeballs if they have no consumer engagement, and therefore often we see that the public service side of media gets curtailed. Hence, it is always an effect of the media, always an effect of the dynamics of the market that makes media more vulnerable to advertising pressures and the pressure of earning more revenue. The small audiences for serious documentaries, for serious programs suffer, and therefore the society at large is not serviced or does not get the benefits of good content. As the economics of content production become less and less stable in the current scenario, most news organizations cut resources to create content, including the number of staff members and the amount of news can be transmitted. Hence, this curtailment also means that larger amount of news is not covered. That means news on climate issues, news on gender issues, news on your agriculture is not given enough priority, and therefore the society suffers at large. Therefore, our last quiz is a quick recap and gives you, which would you say is the following characteristics of television news? It is not a cultural output. It is a product for both the audience and the advertiser. It is similar to a day-to-day product. So, which one do you think applies to television news? Keep in mind, the answer would be it is a product for both the audience and the advertiser, because anything in media today is supported by the advertiser and the audience. Therefore, media economics is dominated by the needs of both these parties. Thank you.